This is going to be the dark side of the online fitness culture.
I always feel small.
Mentally, I know we're in a really bad place.
As it was
10 are thought to be living with a condition that can destroy their lives.
Hi everyone, this is Nisa Seher, ex-fitness influencer and content creator, and this is going to be the dark side of the online fitness culture. The online fitness community can help you lose weight, lose fat, build muscle, build strength, and perform some pretty commendable things with your body. But at what cost? It often leaves people with a broken relationship with their body. Now, the core problem here is that fitness is sold as a status symbol, where it is proof of worth, proof of discipline.
Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs?
The body stops being a home to inhabit and it becomes a trophy. It becomes a showpiece for external validation, and that's where the real danger begins. Please bear in mind that none of this is meant to diminish or put down anyone doing amazing work in this space. I fully acknowledge and appreciate the role of the community in motivating and inspiring people on their fitness journeys. But these are just some of the pitfalls that I feel have pervaded the online space, and they need to be acknowledged and they need to be reflected on. Another caveat. So I am not exempt from any of this criticism when I'm speaking about the fitness space or I'm speaking about the creator community. I was part of it. So just wanted to put that out there. So I've touched upon this one briefly, but the body becomes a status symbol. It is no longer something to inhabit and love. It becomes something to display and compare. It becomes something that one molds as a trophy for external validation. And the things that we can do with our body become the accomplishment or the achievement, rather than us focusing on who we are. Constantly seeing perfect physiques online, constantly seeing people perform these incredible feats with their bodies, makes you feel inadequate and insecure in comparison. So there is this gap between our ideal selves and the version of us that we are right now. And that gap is filled with shame, which fuels disordered eating, which fuels unhealthy ways of attaining that body, which also leads to burnout. So this is probably one of the biggest criticisms I have with the community and the space is pride masquerading as confidence. So in a lot of strength spaces, calisthenic spaces, people start associating discipline with pride. And what happens is pride blocks empathy. So you stop seeing other people as people. You view them as lesser than, you view them as lazy, you view them as inadequate, you view them as weak. And this just creates divisiveness. People think it's cool to fat shame others, or it's cool to, demean someone else because you perceive them as lazy or they're not putting in as much effort as you are. And I think that's one of the biggest problems because pride blocks empathy. And our empathy is our humanity. Exploitation of vulnerability. Online marketing thrives on you viewing yourself as inadequate. Like you're constantly told how what you're doing is not enough. So you're not lean enough, you're not strong enough, you're not consuming enough protein, you're not consuming this supplement. So basically, whatever you're doing is always inadequate. And there is this endless transformation that you need to pursue and chase. Loss of connection to the body, which is all too common, actually. Ironically, in the pursuit of extreme fitness goals, we end up becoming unhealthy because we lose the connection to our body. When you're pushing yourself to the extreme, when you're trying to superimpose what your mind wants on your body, you're losing touch to your regular, healthy, normal cues for hunger, for rest, for injury. The online space can turn supportive communities into hierarchies because everyone is trying to compete for your attention. So it becomes about who's lifting heavier, who's suffering more for gains, who's able to bend their body in cooler ways. So instead of people being supportive, and uplifting and motivating towards each other, there often is a lot of competition, rivalry, jealousy. If you even see the kind of comments people leave, those people are also trying to compete for your attention. So they will say the most absurd, unfunny, disparaging things in the hope that they're funny and in the hope that they get lots of likes. Here is the paradox: pride is not the opposite of shame. In fact, pride is the source of shame. When you have a fragile sense of self, you try to overcompensate, and you do this by inflating yourself and putting others down. The result is divisiveness and not community. The antidote to all of this is humility. Now, humility isn't about belittling yourself, it's about acknowledging that your body is part of your humanity and not your worth. Humility honors difference, humility builds empathy, it restores dignity. And I believe real fitness strengthens your compassion as much as your muscles, if not more. This is extremely nerve wracking for me. I really lack the vocabulary and the fluency to be able to communicate efficaciously what I want to. So when we zoom out, we see that the problem isn't just isolated to the fitness community, it's deeply embedded in the creator economy and the culture at large. We've created an image obsessed world where people feel inadequate if they don't live up to like a certain lifestyle or a certain aesthetic. Social media gives us incentive to create a false persona, which isn't the truth of who we are. This image is carefully curated on the basis of how we want to be perceived. Now, this is the way most of us interact with others. We have this persona and we only reveal parts of ourselves that we want to be seen. But social media exacerbates this problem. It amplifies it. It exaggerates it to maybe 10 or 100x. We filter, we edit, we alter. Some people are even surgically altering themselves to match an ideal which was never even real to begin with. All of this promotes a culture of mass consumption where we're not just sold products. You are constantly sold products. Everyone is selling you products. But not just products, but identities. So, what we think we want, the body, now even the face, the body, the face, the lifestyle, the recognition, they aren't even asked to begin with. Like most of these desires are manufactured and they are programmed. So we're constantly made to feel like we're not enough or we're not doing enough so that we stay hooked. Again, this is an insidious term used by creators to lure you in, to capture your attention, to poke your eyeballs. But coming back to it, so that you're constantly hooked to this content, to this consumption, and to this next dopamine hit. And creators then, knowingly or unknowingly, become vehicles for this vicious cycle, right? Because what is rewarded today? Vanity, narcissism, consumption. The more you perform, the more you win. Like the more artificial your image, the more you're celebrated. You're rewarded for being loud, boisterous, polarizing, provocative, because that's what the algorithm wants. And all of us are trying to capitalize on the viewers' ever dwindling attention span. Also, there is this sense of urgency today, right? We need instant gratification. We can't wait. So we want information instantly. No one has the patience to actually watch a long informative video. We want to be hooked, and then we want information to be delivered to us in bite size, point by point form. Maybe 3 or 4 points at max, because we don't have the patience to watch more than that. There is also a deep sense of insecurity with regards to our space here. So people feel pressured to constantly churn out content lest the algorithm renders them as irrelevant. And when you're producing content for content's sake to stay relevant, the quality of that content is deeply impacted. So you're not really producing value or information. You're producing for the sake of entertainment, or you're producing just to produce. Um and that's what spam essentially is. So we're producing spam just to stay relevant. And most of us, unwittingly, are becoming perpetrators of this insidious cycle. we don't stop to think about the implications that this has, not just on ourselves, but also society on a larger scale. In this endless performance, we're losing something essential. All of us have our own unique gifts, our own energy, our rhythm, our beauty. And in the pursuit of trying to be like everyone else, we sacrifice our essence. And that is something I don't want to do anymore. To have to limit myself to a particular segment or just show one aspect of myself so that I don't know, I get more engagement or I can make more money. That's not something that made me feel good about myself. So I want to stop performing and I want to start living. This culture teaches us that we need validation no matter what. And the reason why we fall prey to it is because so many of us grew up in environments where our emotional needs weren't met. So, for example, the need for love, safety, security, affirmation. And now, in the absence of these strong roots, right, we try to fill that void with attention. But no amount of attention, no amount of likes, views, applause can replace real connection. And no amount of aesthetic perfection can heal a fractured sense of self. We've become deeply unhappy, deeply insincere, and deeply disconnected, not just from other people, but from ourselves. And I think it's time to change that. And you change that by trying to shift some of the focus that you have outside of yourself to inside of yourself and start observing, start becoming aware, and start spending time with yourself. If fitness is costing you your ability to live at peace in your body, if you feel like your body is a threat to yourself and that you constantly need to monitor it, you can't rest, then it isn't healthy. Fitness should not be costing you your compassion, your humility, your joy. Because strength without empathy is empty. True strength is not about pride or perfection. True strength is about wholeness, about dignity, compassion, humility, lived in this body, which we call home. Ever since I've taken a break from these apps, I've noticed now that opening them instantly gives me a headache because there is this relentless onslaught of fast paced edits, loud colors, constant sound, which feels like an assault on the senses. It overwhelms the brain's dopamine system, and surely this isn't healthy, like for anyone. We've gone from being conscious creators, critical thinkers, to mindless consumers. And again, creators are perpetuating this cycle because they're promoting anything, they're saying anything, doing anything. Not to blame them because they're playing the game that everyone else is playing, but at some point, we need to consciously choose to be different, else, like it's a downward spiral. We're all just going to collectively degrade as a society.